Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of King Me Rev's Hype Podcast, where today I am debuting a new blue jacket. What do you guys think? Not so bad, huh? Hopefully. I think I like it, so keeping it around for a while. Can't wait to use it the next time I go to the Wrestling Open. Today we have something special. Now, I have done several podcast episodes so far interviewing professional wrestlers. And I told myself that as soon as I got the opportunity, I would create bonus episodes that will drop on Wednesdays. These will be value added, all right? These will be special episodes that are going to explore my interests and hobbies. However, I am not going to explore them alone, as I am going to be bringing with me all kinds of professionals and influencers throughout the universe with me on these particular adventures, you could say. And why? Why would I do that? Well, to be quite frank with you, I have so many people in my life who ask me questions about my diet, as I am a vegan. My diet, because I am gluten-free. Most people don't know what gluten-free means. Most people don't know have the first clue about any of those veganism about gluten-free. And they sit there and they ask me questions. And I feel like I'm sitting on a soapbox, just standing on the box and just shouting out all of my beliefs and opinions by myself. It's uncomfortable. I feel preachy. And due to the fact that I have this platform, I would rather do it with other people who are either part of that type of world or are experts in that world. So, you might be asking, what else are you going to be exploring? I'm going to be talking to artists and musicians and filmmakers. I want to bring on some filmmakers, ask them questions about the films that they've made or their TV shows and etc., right? Maybe even do some collabs with other podcasters. I don't want to name names, but I have talked to a couple about the idea of doing some crossover episodes between myself, JJ, my lovely daughter, and themselves to try to, link the gap, because we have different styles, right? You could have two different people who talk about wrestling, but they have different opinions on wrestling or movies and comics and TV shows. I want to broaden the appeal. So these bonus episodes will be placed on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I will mark them on Apple Podcasts exclusively as Season 2. So if you are on Apple Podcasts, you will know that anything that's in Season 2 will be what I'm considering a bonus episode. That does not mean I will stop doing wrestling. In fact, I have two wrestlers that I'm going to be interviewing just this week. On Friday night, I have Cash McGinnis from Chaotic Wrestling in Nepois. On Sunday night, I'm going to be speaking with Mike Grossa, the Mind Eraser. All right? Where they fall in the timeline of when I'm going to be putting them out in the universe, let's not worry about that. Let's not worry about that. But before I did anything, and this is literally the day before I have this person on, I wanted to do some quick understanding. I wanted to talk today, we're going to talk about Kava, okay? Now, I'm not a doctor or a lawyer, so I'm not giving out medical advice or legal advice when I talk about any of this stuff. Neither is my guests, and that goes for every single episode I ever do. If you need medical advice or legal advice, please seek your personal, whoever that person is for you, please seek them out, your lawyer, your doctor, yada, 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 your medical professional. If you want opinions based upon facts and experiences, this is where I come in, all right? So Kava, also known as Kava, is a traditional beverage made from the root of the pepper miscanthus plant. And I probably just butchered that, and someone somewhere in the universe is going to go blah 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 blah. I'm going to say, my bad, bro. It is the cousin of the pepper plant, okay? It is native to the South Pacific Islands like Fiji and Vanuatu and Hawaii. It has been used for centuries in cultural ceremonies, social gatherings, and for relaxation. The drink is prepared by grinding or pounding the root, mixing it with water or coconut milk, straining it into a cloudy, earthly flavored liquid. Its active compounds, cavalactones, produce calming effects like, like reduced anxiety, mild euphoria, muscle relaxation, and a numbing sensation in the mouth, often compared to alcohol's relaxant qualities, but typically without the heavy cognitive fog or highly addictive potentials. Notice that I used kava, all right, with a K. Note that kava with a C refers to something entirely different. All right. Kava with the C is either talking about the popular Spanish sparkling wine similar to champagne, or Kava with the C, C-A-V-A, often stylized in all capitals, is a fast-growing American fast casual restaurant chain specializing in Mediterranean-inspired bowls. Think Chipotle style, but flavors from Greece, Turkey, and the Levant. The spelling difference helps avoid confusion between these distinct things. Now, it's going to be magical and it's going to seem in 10 seconds, but it's technically tomorrow. I am going to have on the owner of Lava Kava in Portland, Maine. Okay? I've been to this particular location and I enjoy it very much. As most people would know, I work hand in hand with Root Awakening Kava Bar in Nashua, New Hampshire. The unfortunate truth, and I will not get into any more details, is that the Root Awakening Kava Bar in Worcester, Massachusetts is now officially closed as of March 1st, 2026. Very sad, very unfortunate circumstances. I don't really know all the details. It's not my story to tell. All right. With that being said, all right, if somebody's asking, hey man, I thought we were going to go to that Worcester bar. Unfortunately, it has closed. The Nashua bar is still standing. We are going to be just fine. And we are going to work our butts off to make the Nashua Kava bar 10 times better than it ever has. So if you haven't been to Nashua, New Hampshire for the Kava bar, please come and join me sometime. If you message me specifically, I can give you a time where myself and JJ will be there. We frequent the Kava bar on a regular basis. It is 18 plus. However, they do allow the idea of children to hang out. They can't drink anything, okay? But they can be in the general vicinity, all right? Definitely would never give anyone under the age of 18 anything ever. Let's just make that abundantly clear. To anybody who's watching this and wants to twist anything, you're wrong. And when someone actually plays the full video, there you go. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. Now, I just wanted to explain that and kind of explain the idea that I have been drinking kava for almost 4 years. I actually found the Root Awakening Kava Bar just a few months, maybe 2 months after it had opened. I was driving down the street one day. I saw a sign that said Kava Bar. I had no idea what that meant, but my adventurous spirit kind of took over me, and I just literally pulled right over, walked right into the bar. Greg, who is the owner of the Kava Bar, was the bartender at the time, the kava tender at the time, and he was the one who explained to me everything. Now, there is a lot of nuance and there's a lot more interesting understandings that you can come to understand. And guess what? That's what Miriam's going to be for. So when I'm done jibber jabbering today and I come back tomorrow and I'm talking to Miriam, and I didn't want to have her sitting on the sidelines wasting 20 minutes of her life listening to me ramble like an idiot. Well, I explain this to you guys. Essentially what I'm trying to say is pretty simple, right? We will go into more details, but I don't want to do it alone. I want to do it with Miriam. And you might ask, why didn't you ask Greg? I'll have Greg on eventually. When Greg's ready, Greg's ready. I want to have on a few more winners. When I went down to Vegas last year for WrestleMania, I went to the Kava bar that was there. I thoroughly enjoyed the Kava bar because it was like the unofficial drink palace for Star Trek fans. And every single drink had a Star Trek name on it. And I thoroughly enjoyed the place. And as of today, it's March 3rd. I cannot wait to go back in April for WrestleMania to get another rock to Gino from the Kava spot. The Wolf Den, hopefully it's still fully active because last time I checked, it was the only one in all of Nevada. So there is a lot of social stigma about kava, and you might go out there and say to yourself, oh, I looked it up and someone sent me a video and they told me that they had bought some kava from a gas station and something bad happened. And I would stop for a second and ask you to replay that scenario and you're out loud. Say it out loud. What did you tell me? You just said that someone purchased an item from a gas station and it didn't go well. Where have I heard that before? Gas station sushi, anyone? Now, before 7-Eleven and the rest of them come at me for being a jerk, I just want to make it abundantly clear that if you are purchasing something in a synthetic form and not in its pure state, like most kava bars serve, okay, you're gonna get something else. I don't know what it is. I can't speculate. I don't know what the video was. Nobody showed me the ingredients. I have no clue. But what I will say is, yeah, there are some synthetic versions of kava out there in the world, and they're not good for you. And anyone who knows anything about actual kava would tell you to run away from those products. Okay? And for anybody selling those products, do better. Do better. Okay? That's the best. That's the only thing that I'm going to say about it. I'm going to shut up now. I am going to disappear magically. I am going to come back in about, I don't know, however long it takes to shut up now and bring on my guest. But before I did it, I really wanted to emphasize those particular things because I think it is very important. I've had so many people send me video after video after video about somebody buying some weird sketchy stuff from a gas station and it didn't make them feel good. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Please go to a real kava bar where they serve actual kava made from the actual plant and not some synthesized monstrosity that no human being should ever drink. Okay? And you might be like, it's not just kava. Obviously, it's not just kava. I could literally list tens of thousands of products that have all kinds of things in there that human beings consume on a regular basis, and they probably shouldn't. But instead of doing it today and once again badgering you to death with nonsense, I am going to do it with experts. So, one last thing before I jump off and bring on Miriam. I'm speaking with different influencers and stuff like that, and we are going to come on here. We're going to teach you some stuff. They will be labeled, these will be labeled on YouTube and Spotify as bonus episodes. These will be labeled on Apple Music, like I said, as bonus episodes, but also as season 2. So people are like, why is he doing season 1 and season 2 at the same time? Because season 1 is wrestling and season 2 is bonus. I don't see any reason to do it any other way. I would have. It's literally just the way the Apple system works. It makes you put things in seasons, and I don't see it. I don't feel a need to do that for podcasts in particular. But hey, I gotta play with the sandbox I have. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, humans of all genders, let me introduce you today my very special guest, Miriam, the owner of Lava Kava in Portland, Maine. Miriam, thank you so much for being here today.
Nice to be here, Chris.
Awesome. So, this, as always, is what I call the Rev Dudes Hype podcast where we discuss topics far and wide and broad. And today I asked you to come on the podcast because even though I do know a few other kava bar owners, I really thought it would be great for my particular audience to get kind of a broadened scope, right? They would be able to see your professional opinion. I'll be able to get their professional opinions at some point as well. But I also would like to tell people about your lovely bar because I've been there and I've had the esteemed pleasure of having your horchata and it's
Mhm.
delicious. So I want people to know, hey, if you are in Portland, Maine, if you are in Maine in general, you can go down there and you can get something delicious. So thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Perfect.
It's my pleasure.
So, thank you. So, first question today, right?
Mhm.
Um, can you just start by telling us how you personally discovered kava and what initially drew you to its calming and relaxing effects?
Yeah, well, the first time I discovered kava was in Florida. I'm originally from Florida, where most people who are familiar with kava know that Florida is very popular, very trendy. Most people know about it. Kava bars on every corner, type of thing. But at that time, I was not familiar with kava, and I was coming off of work of a second shift. It was 11 o'clock at night, going home, and I said, you know what? I just don't want to go home quite yet. I want to stop and get a drink, but I don't want to go to the bar. I have to work tomorrow. Kind of that initial thought. And I said, let me see what else is open besides the bar. Um, and then the Kava bar in my town came up, and I went there, just like, you know what, let me try it out. It says non-alcoholic. It's a place I've never heard about. And I went in. The kava tender explained what kava was. I had a traditional bowl of kava, and I said, "Oh, what an idea! What to have something relaxing after work, something to unwind." It was a bar setting, so there were other people there, friendly. People were playing pool, etc., etc. And I was able to go unwind with other people, have a drink that made me relax physically, mentally, and was not alcoholic, that I didn't have to worry. Am I gonna, did I have one too many? Or again, just an alternative. So that's what my initial um, introduction to Kava was.
Right? And we are definitely seeing that on the rise, the idea
Hmm.
of non-alcoholic consumption for adults especially. We don't want to drink a soft drink, all right? We're not 12 years old anymore. We don't have a Coca-Cola, but we
Right.
do want to partake in something. And I do believe that this is the time for kava, to be quite frank. You know, this is the time for people to be able to have an alternative beverage that has been able to have an impact on the human body without the harmful side effects of something like alcohol. And your story resonates with me. It's very similar to myself. And I guess my next question feeds into that. You know, what brought you to Maine, and what was it that being in Maine, what was that moment when you realized that Maine had nothing like that down in Florida, and you need to open one yourself?
Yeah, so I'm a nurse, and a lot of my customers know that I'm a nurse, because that's how my story goes. I'm a nurse. I was a travel nurse, and again from South Florida, Miami. Um, Maine is the furthest thing, from my familiarity. But so I came here as a travel nurse, and first of all, I fell in love with Portland and Maine. Decided to make a life here. So I moved here. I started working here, bought a house, started making friends, and as I was getting familiar with the community, with Portland, in mostly because that's where I was living, um, it just kind of dawned on me one day. I said, "Wait a second, there's something missing. There are no kava bars." And to be honest, I wasn't frequenting kava bars in Florida, but I knew what they were. I've gone to them, so it wasn't something that I was looking like, where's a kava bar? It was just something that said, where are the kava bars. So I went online, right? And my first initial reaction was like, kava bar near me? Nothing, nothing. And this was back, was it 2023? And after a little bit more research, I said, where is the nearest kava bar? Okay, there's none in Maine. There aren't any in Maine. And that's when I discovered there was only one kava bar in all of New England, in New Hampshire, Rude Awakening. And he had just opened up the previous year from what I had seen. And I said, wow, just untouched, totally untouched in all of New England. And so at that moment, I said, let me see if this is what Maine needs, if this is what Portland needs, because the first questions are like, why, right? Why is there not a kava bar? If I'm from Florida, and other places, right? You go to Denver, Colorado, you go to Asheville, North Carolina, you go to California, Hawaii, so many other places have kava, and it's a popular thing. People know about it. Why not Maine? And again, brand new to the state, so still learning the people, the community, the demographic, who's who and what's what. And so I just took it upon myself. I was like, let me learn the people, let me get to know the people and to see why Kava's not here. And as I got to know the community, I started going to different events, just getting to know people in the community. And I decided, well, Kava would fit in really well here. It just nobody knows about it. I came across very few people, who had knew what Kappa was. So at that point, I don't know, it was just let's go for it. Let's open up a kava bar. I reached out to a commercial real estate agent. I said, I just need a little spot. Just give me a little corner somewhere in Portland. I want to open up a kava bar. People need to know about it. And as she looked for me, I spent my summer that year, 2023, I guess, just doing pop-up events at different markets and different craft fairs and wherever they had an opening to for me to be able to introduce my kava. I did that. And again, just getting to know the people, and the demographic. And I think, and I was convinced. I said, okay, kava would do great here. We've got the people who are looking for something to make them feel good. People are looking for something to make them feel good, to unwind, to, yes, we have beer, we have wine bars, we have, all sorts of different things that people are looking for, but there's no kava bar. So yeah, so I went for it. I did my research and decided to open Lava Kava.
Beautiful story, and you know, you, wonderful for me as well because you answered two of my next three questions. Um, so the thing, and you brought it up. So I am a business developer for the Root Awakening Kava Bar. I genuinely remember when you came in because the owner Greg was talking about you. He was like, "Yeah, we just had this lady come in and she's talking about opening a kava bar in Maine," and he was actually like very excited.
Hmm.
Um, Almost like, it's so many people, I guess they're used to industries where it's more cutthroat and it's more, um, one,
Competition.
it's all competition. And
Hmm.
the kava real estate is a completely different beast. We aren't
Right.
in competition with each other. We are a community with each other, and
Hmm.
we have respect for each other. And I can tell you, I can't really speak on behalf of him because I'm not his lawyer or anything, but I do distinctly remember that Greg was very excited to have you in the bar and have you talking about the idea of opening your own kava bar in the Portland area. And also as someone who is originally from New England, I can genuinely say ignorance is the answer. Most people from New England just have never heard about kava in general. I
Right.
have over the last 4 years been this guy in a dark room just screaming kava at the top of my lungs. And honestly, part of the reason why I wanted you on the podcast today is I get so many questions from people that I meet. What is kava? What is it? What does it do? What is this thing? And it's almost this foreign concept. And I can say that it was genuinely shocking for me the first time I went to a kava bar to hear how popular it was in Florida, right? We have a Kava tender. I, I absolutely adore her. Her name's Olivia. She's from Florida, and she
Hmm.
would talk about the idea that, there's one on every corner. And I remember Googling
Yep.
it and just having my mind blown, like, this is everywhere? Like, I
Yeah.
could not imagine. I could not believe it. And it's very similar to being from Phoenix. So I lived in Phoenix for a long time, and most people couldn't imagine that there was a Circle K on every mile, right?
Right.
There's 24-hour Walmarts. If you're not from that area, you're not familiar with it. You're totally stuck in that darkness of ignorance, and ignorance is not a bad word, guys. Let's put that to rest. There's no negative connotations with the word ignorant, because it's, to me, it's a positive word, because it means that you have an opportunity for a learning experience, and that's why we're here
Right.
today, is to teach the audience and have them understand more. So yeah, thank you so much for explaining all of that. Thank you for going through, um, your timeline and everything, because that was definitely going to be my one of my questions. What were some of your, like, biggest hurdles getting that all open? I know there was plenty for Greg, so I'm wondering if you had anything similar in the Portland area.
I've spoken with Greg and heard his story and his challenges, and um I didn't have any of those challenges. So that was good. I think for me, it was honestly just more of a personal. I've never been a business owner, so I had no idea what I was doing. So just in general, opening up a business. So it was not only opening up the first kava bar in Maine and the second in New England, right? Big, but opening up a business for the very first time, renting a commercial retail space for the very first time, dealing with inspectors for the very first time, et cetera, et cetera. Um, so that was my biggest hurdle with Lava Kava, in just trying to figure things out business wise. Doing it myself, trying to get all the answers myself, not having right, a ton of resources. And again, I did speak with Greg. But and I'm very grateful for his information. He reached out, and we were able to talk and have conversations. But honestly, that was my biggest hurdle. But Portland, uh, nothing with the city or the state or anything like that. We didn't have any issues. We said this is what we want, and we got it. And kind of smooth sailing as far as getting open and started with that.
Awesome. See, that's
Yeah.
that's wonderful to hear. Uh, we wouldn't want you to struggle. So if
Right.
you know, and that's something I bring up all the time as a father. So, like, my
Hmm.
oldest is 24, my youngest is 13. She was actually, you probably don't remember the last time we were in there. It was like last March or April, but me and
Hmm.
my daughter were in there, and it's something I say to my children all the time. Like, as a father, when I look at the world, I don't want other people to struggle, because I've been through that struggle and I know how it goes, right? So
Oh
when I
yeah,
hear
for
when
sure.
I hear when I I was there I was there just after when Greg opened, so I got to hear all of his struggles, and he's had plenty
Yeah.
more since then for various reasons. And to hear that you didn't have to go through it, I'm just like, oh, thank the Lord, right there. You go. No one
Yes.
needs to struggle, man. Life is hard
Right.
enough, guys. Let's not make it any harder on each other than we need to. Okay? Let's
Right.
be
Right.
honest.
Right. And it was great because it's just like, okay, what are the rules? I mean, there's guidelines, and it's a great place, I mean, to have a business, there's rules, you have to have a certain temperature of your
Right.
water, and like I'm all for that. And so that, that was the only thing, like plumbing. Okay, this needs to be connected to this. Let's do it. Um, but yeah, definitely that was, just knowing the struggles that are happening with him in New Hampshire, and with all of it's just like this is and I think it's the ignorance, like you said, it's just like, hey, is this something unknown? Just because it's not known by you who's making the decisions to, yes, you can do this, you can't, doesn't mean. So I think the biggest thing, and like you said, just getting the word out there, the education. of, this is what kava is, this is what it can do, this is, what it is, where it comes from, all of the information that we can give so people are just knowledgeable about it. I tell people all the time, kava's not for everybody, right? Maybe you try it, either you don't like the taste or you don't like the feeling or whatever it may be. But at least you know what it is. And I always tell people, you can tell somebody else, word of mouth, in just spreading the word. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like you really hit the nail on the head there. So many people are in this world, especially in our country, are looking for a magic pill, the
Hmm.
end all be all cure. I'm gonna get this one thing, and it's gonna work for me, and it's gonna work. And if it worked for me, it'll work for everybody else. And with all due respect, that's not true. We all are different humans. We have different physiologies. We have different psychology. We have different mental and
Right.
emotional understandings. And what works for me may not work for somebody else.
Hmm.
I'm a vegan, right? Some people I know are allergic to plenty of vegetables.
Hmm.
So should I force my opinion and dietary restrictions on someone else even though it kills them? That's illogical, right? So
Right.
it's and there are those people out there that partake in the habituates and the alcohol and stuff, and they can do it with functioning, and
Hmm.
they're not as bad. But for anyone else that may not be able to, there kava is a once again, I say just like you. Try it once, and if you don't like it, all right, at least you could say you tried it. It's not going to kill you,
Right.
right?
Right.
So, for listeners new to kava, can you explain, like, in what you've seen, what are the benefits? Whether it's relaxation, sociability, anti-anxiety. Like, can you explain what kava is and what it's done for you and maybe for some of your customers, your guests?
Yeah, and just those things that you listed, it could be any of those things, or a combination of those things for folks. Just in, general, you know, kava's this, it's a drink, right? And we make it out of the roots of the kava plant, comes from the South Pacific, so far, far away. And it is something that, works with your nervous system. It works with your body, to give you an natural anti-anxiety boost. That's how I describe it. It's just a natural anti-anxiety boost. And lots of people use it for sleep. It helps them relax enough to go to sleep. A lot of people will use it for sociability, right? To take they'll come and say, hey, we're going to an event. We just need something to take the edge off and help us get into the social mood. Um, uh, Relaxation, again, unwinding after a long day. We're open till 10 o'clock at night, which in Portland is, pretty late. We're one of the later businesses that are open. And again, it's just something, where can I go, 9 o'clock, 9:30. I have lots of my regulars that are like, are you going to still be there at 10:01? Stay open for me, because that's they want it. They at that time. So what it does for different people is different things, but it does encompass the relaxation, the anti-anxiety. I have folks that do take it for anxiety. Many people who have replaced medication, prescription medication, with kava over time, right? Again, helps them to sleep versus taking medications. Um, and a lot of people just drink it for an alternative to alcohol, as just a social drink. Um, I drink it as a social drink. I'm naturally anti-anxiety, anti-anxious person, I guess. So I always tell people, I'm like, I'm normally relaxed. I don't need it to relax, but I drink it because it's a fun drink, and it's something that, I can mix it with different ingredients, or I can drink it by itself. I can eat it in a piece of chocolate, et cetera, et cetera. So it's all about what the intention is with the people. So for a lot of times when folks come in and we're talking about kava and educating them about kava, and I always like to see where the conversation goes, right? Because everybody's different. Some people just say, "Hey, we heard about this on TikTok. We just want some," and I go with the flow. I read the room, but a lot of times it's like, okay, well, what's your intention with the drink? And whether I'm asking somebody or just kind of reading the room, and then that's how the conversation goes. That's how the visit to Lava Cava goes. Whether we're having a long conversation about your problems with anxiety, and we have a conversation about, lack of sleep, and we get deeper into the mechanism of kava, et cetera, et cetera. And I always tell people I'm not a scientist. I don't know, all the ins and outs. I've read, some books and some, different things about kava, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, that's very scientific. I just can tell you, this it works with your body. But yeah, there's all those different ways that people use it, and it's not one thing in particular, one thing specific. It has many different uses, which is a great thing because then you can um, cater, quote unquote, or have different types of customers, because you're not just, again, catering to one group of people and saying, oh, you're the group of people that needs kava. It's something that can be for anybody, younger, older, different types of people.
18 plus, guys. 18 plus.
18 plus. And I say younger, I'm in like my 40s now. So, and
Yeah,
older is older than 40, younger is younger than 40. But yeah,
yeah, just get
yeah,
40 in
we always recommend 18 plus. Again, I always tell people it does work with your nervous system. It works with your body like anything. It's not like you're just drinking, straight up water. If you're drinking caffeine, you should know what you're doing and what it does to your body. You're drinking coffee, you should know what it does to your body. I have three teenagers. Well, one just turned 21, but in teenage range. Um, and yeah, we definitely know how impulsive they can be, and but anyway, yes,
Yeah, no, I can definitely hit you on that. I can see
yeah,
this. I'm 40. My son just turned 24, so
yeah,
you know, I've definitely seen plenty of things in my time now. Not
yeah,
yet. So, one question, and I genuinely mess this up. So this is probably something I'll probably forget 16 more times, but at least I
yeah,
can have my own podcast to go back and listen to. Because there's always those words, right? There's to maybe I'll word the question like this. I know that there are genuine strands that people use more often, like Vanuatu, Fiji, etc. Which strands are better for your mind, and which ones are better for your body? And can you elaborate on that a little bit for the audience?
yeah. So, you typically have, and you'll hear a lot of times being called a heavy or a heady, and that's how I call them when I speak about it. And you have heavy effects and heady effects. So I always tell people that heady effects, if you think of heady, and because heavy and heavy, or heady and heavy, they sound alike, and I say if you think heady, it's a mental, relaxation, right? It's a lighter relaxation. You don't really feel it in your body as heavy as a heavy kava. And the kavas, depends on where they come from. You have like Vanuatu is very popular for having some of the heavier kavas. That's where it originated from, right? And that's where you had your first kavas. Fiji might have some of the more moderate ones, what we call like a balance. You have some that are lighter. It depends on, again, where they're grown. How long they're grown before they're harvested also has something to do with it. Um, so again, the headier ones are just going to be like a mental relaxation where you're not going to feel it as much in your body as you would with a heavy, where you might say, oh, you know what, I want to relax my body. I want, maybe a nighttime kava, where I might feel a little bit sleepier or just more, I don't want to say sedated. I'm a nurse and I'm like, well, we don't sedate people. We just relax them, where you become more relaxed with your body. Again, people call it a body kava, a heavy kava. Um, and so yeah, there are the different types, and that's another part of the conversation when people come in and say, oh, well, which one do you recommend? And so then it's all part of like, well, what are you going to do now? What are you feeling? What do you, so it's not just, hey, here, have this. A lot of people say, what do you recommend? And it's not just, this is what I recommend. It's, let's have a quick conversation, whether it's a 5-minute conversation or 30-second conversation of which one I would recommend. So definitely the different effects is something that we take into account when we're recommending or serving kava, depending on what they're looking for.
Yeah, that's always it's always the question. I mean, luckily I'm the business developer, not the kava tender, so I don't have to remember all the particulars, right?
Right,
Uh,
right.
but
And
I'm
it's
just
great
I'll
because
just
it's
tell.
like you can make it again simple. I try to, because if it's a brand new thing to somebody, there are so many questions, and I always tell people heavy and heady, and then you've got some in the middle,
Yeah,
and you want to feel, and a lot of people, heavy is very popular at Lava Kava. People want to feel something. They're like, yeah, I want to, give me the strongest. And I'm like, well, it's stronger. It's got a higher percentage of kava lactones in it, it's going to make you feel this way, but definitely depends. How do you want to feel after you drink this, and how much of it you drink, right? And then that becomes part of the conversation too.
wonderful. And with your menu, how do you honor the ancient ceremonial traditions of kava while creating modern fun drinks? So I mean, like I talked about the horchata, right? For you
Yes.
white folks, it's called horchata, okay?
Horchata.
Uh, what when you're and you have an expansive menu for sure. So when you're creating that, is there a way of looking at it?
um So there's a few different approaches that I take when it comes to creating the kava creations, which are the mixed drinks that I make with the kava and other ingredients. Um, the traditional kava, I guess how I would kind of honor, right, the authenticity of it and where it comes from, and not just, hey, we're having this fun trendy drink here in Maine. It's I served the traditional kava in a kava, a coconut shell, where people have to sip from it, which in traditional kava ceremonies or where it's drank traditionally, you drink it from a bowl, right? You ladle the kava into a bowl and you sip on it or you throw it back. So I try to keep that authentic. People really appreciate that. And um, there are people that see it for the first time. They're like, "Oh, it's a bowl," and some people get excited, and and they're just like, "Wow, this is different." Where are you going? Where you're drinking from a coconut bowl? This authentic drink from the South Pacific. So it's all about that experience, and when we drink the traditional kava, we do a bula, right? A bula is in Fijian. It's a toast to happiness, to wellness, to so when you do that, you're bringing the coconut vol, you're just the bringing it up and toasting, and drinking it all together, and it just kind of brings that whole community feel to it. Um, there are times where I just have one person, it's just me and them, and well, we'll bula together because it's going to be, two people together, a community, togetherness. Um, if there's a room full of us, hey, let's all do it together. So just bringing that aspect of the tradition to it, is important. As far as like the kava creations, which are the drinks, when I moved to Maine, I learned very quickly that Mainers are very proud to be Mainers. They're very proud of their state, of their culture here in Maine. Um, everything. I mean, they're it's blueberry season, and all of a sudden everything's a blueberry, right? It's not just, oh, pumpkin spice season. You know, you go to Florida, pumpkin spice season is everywhere, right? Or any state. But here, like, blueberry, maple syrup. There's a whole weekend for it, you know? So I learned that very early on, that I'm like, okay, I have to create things that not only honor the kava and the culture of kava, but also kind of bring in, and again, and that's the creation part, is bring in the main culture and say, hey, we can connect South Pacific cultural, authentic, traditional drink with Maine, all the way up here in the United States, where it's totally different, and we can connect those two, and that's a lot of my creations are that. So horchata, even though it's a Mexican Central American original drink, it's very popular here in Maine. A lot of people who are looking for, again, something different, something authentic. I've got plenty of people that come in, they're like, oh, horchata, that's, I love that. And so once I started seeing that people really loved it, it's a very popular drink. And so that's something that, they're familiar with, and they like. Again, blueberry, I have a mainly blue, which more of a summer drink, because it's hard to come by blueberries in the winter. But I've learned over time to freeze certain things, so if I needed them during the winter, I can still use them, and that also brings an appreciation of things for the community. To have things that are here from Maine, again, connected with a South Pacific traditional drink. Um, and so yeah, and I use some of my own culture. I'm Puerto Rican, and for Christmas and the holiday season, we make coquito, and that's something that I said it's traditionally made with alcohol, and but growing up, we had a lot of virgin coquito, because we were kids, right? And I said, wait, we can have virgin coquitos, without the alcohol. Maybe we can mix it with cava. And so that was very popular during the holiday season, just bringing that. And again, just connecting. I think it's just, bringing communities, bringing the community together with totally different things. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's a wonderful answer. Once again, you answered like three or four of my follow-up questions I was going to have for you.
Uh,
So, yeah, I love
okay.
how detail-oriented you are at this time. Like, oh, you're making my job so much easier. I had like 14 more things to ask, but you answered it anyways. Um, and I love the fact that you're bringing your own tradition, and you're accumulating other ones along the way, right? I can say that as a New Englander, we are very much proud of being New Englanders. Um, most of us were born New Englanders. We'll die New Englanders. Most people from New England never actually go on vacation and leave. We invented the
Just
whole
travel around.
staycation idea, right? No one
Right.
else, no one else, like people from Portland are like, oh, I want to go on vacation. I'm just going to drive 4 hours north, but stay in Maine, and that's their
Yeah.
vacation, right? So,
Right. Right.
and
Right.
we,
And living up here in Maine, summer, oh, vacationers are here, and then all the plates, you're like, oh, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, like
yeah,
it's so I get that totally. I'm like, okay, there's a couple Floridians here, but most of the folks are, yeah, New Englanders, and so yeah, I definitely learned that very early on, of the proud, um just to be proud to be from here. And so I definitely, it's like, okay, we gotta definitely mix that in. And buying local ingredients, and just really saying, hey, I've got this homemade tea from the tea shop down, and I can, and just supporting each other, and kind of going to the beginning of, when we were talking about Kava not being really a competition or cutthroat. It's more of a community. And so, um, just seeing that, hey, I mean, I don't have any other kava bars to commune with here next to me, but at least with the community, where I get my teas from, and again, shopping local for ingredients for horchata, and different things. That's really important too.
yeah, that's definitely a thing that almost was I would say this is a bit of a strange shock. So like, I was 10 years old. I moved from Lowell to Phoenix, and then I was in the army for a while. And when I came back to New England, it was almost after being so long, especially in a place like Phoenix, where it's literally a desert, and
Hmm.
it's a food desert as well for most part. It was almost shocking to me to see once again how strong communities love locally sourced products, right?
Hmm.
I have a brother that goes to one farm for milk, one farm for eggs, one place for apples, one place for this, one place for that. And most people outside of New England would be like, that guy's completely insane. Why would he ever do that? You can just go to the,
Right.
the grocery store and just buy all that in 10 seconds. And it's like,
Right.
and I don't disagree with you. He certainly could if he really, really wanted to. But the idea of going to an actual dairy farm, right, and being able to get the milk and the cheese and the ice cream and whatever else from those guys specifically when
Hmm.
they're right down the street, than buying another factory made yada yada for whatever reason, is just something that I feel like, marginally speaking, a good number of New Englanders still prefer to do. Um,
Right.
and I love the fact that you were able to really tap into the zeitgeist. You really tap into the idea, you know. It does make me wonder. Do you have any whoopie pies? No.
No, so that's a whole other untapped market. So yeah, I as far as bringing in treats, local treats, that's something that I've been working on. Every time somebody comes in, they're like, "Do you have anything to eat?" And so far, it's just kind of like, "Oh, I've got a couple of things you can, prepackaged type of things." And so I'm working on getting some things from some local, bakeries and shops. Um, we d- I do make my own kava chocolate, so that is very popular and that goes quickly. So when somebody says, "Do you have a treat?" I'm like, "Yes, more kava, but it's in chocolate."
That's
So
always great, though. The that type of stuff, like I might have to just come run up there sometime and buy a bunch of chocolate now. To be honest with you,
yeah.
that sounds amazing. When I was in your store last March or April, I can't
Hmm.
remember specifically, as up for a particular event, you had told me about the Wolves Den. Wolf Den
Yep.
is down in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I
Yep.
was actually very excited for that because when I went to Las Vegas last year, it was for WrestleMania, and
Yep.
they sold little candies and some other stuff. I always
Hmm.
have to watch out, I got to make sure they're of a certain caliber and whatever. But it was pretty much just
Right.
a, marginally speaking, it was just kava in it anyways. But it worked out for me because I went to, it's basically a Comic Con, but for us wrestling nerds, it's called
Yeah.
WrestleCon, and I got to meet a whole bunch of wrestlers, and I was literally just like eating a candy every once in a while to keep myself down, right?
Right.
I get
Right.
very excited and very animated. It's kind of my job now to be the hype man. So
Yeah.
I was like, all right, just take it down a notch. It's been an hour. Take another candy. Like, this is good for you. And I think that was. I was also kind of low key surprised. I was waiting for them to like go through my bags or through my person to like check to make sure I didn't have anything. But
Right.
and if anybody saw me, they probably thought I was doing edibles, which is not my thing. But it's definitely beneficial to have those around. So I might have to drive up there soon and snag a few, especially with the Sea Dogs coming back into swing.
Yep. Yep.
Um, do you have any kind of like events that you host or any special gatherings that you have at your spot maybe during the summer?
Yeah. So I try to do as many things as I can. My space is not too big or huge. Trivia. We get together and do trivia. L- the snow has really put a damper on a lot of things that, just people being able to get out. I'm sitting out looking out the window of the mountains of snow in my backyard. But yeah, summer we've had tiki party Sundays, where every Sunday was just, doors open again, summer doors open, music, specials, raffles, different things like that, to doing events again like trivia, music. A lot of our customers and friends, because when you become a regular at Lava Cava, or a lot of most Cava bars, you become friends. And just having random, music nights, and like, yeah, let's do what's it called? Open mic. And again, we don't even need microphones because it's a small, cozy space. But open mic where you can just say, hey, yeah, let's go ahead and sing. And people just walking in and saying, well, oh, I have a poem in my phone. Like, can I participate? And so it just becomes those type of events where you're just gathering. It's kind of a get together, and you're saying, yeah, we're going to play some music and we're just going to sing together and have kava in the midst of all of it. We're going to play a game of trivia, and it's nothing where it's timed. And if things kind of go off track and we play one game and all of a sudden we start talking about geography, and because that was the topic, and we're like, oh yeah, we only played one round. That's the vibe that we have at Lava Cava. It's kind of just very relaxed, and you know um and it's just you're again that community just coming together. You become friends. I always say that when you come to Lava Cava, if you're there by yourself, you're never by yourself. You're there with me, or my kids who help at the shop. If there's two people, we're having conversation, we're networking, we're talking together. And so there's always it's a space where I'm always going to introduce people. I'm like, hey, Chris, this is Miriam. Miriam, this is Chris. Even if you guys never talk again, you're going to remember you met somebody. You remember that somebody cared to acknowledge your presence there, even though there's only two of you in the shop. Um, so those are the type of things that we do. As far as events out of the shop, I've gone to many community events. Maine Fungi Fest, I've been to a couple of their events, so that's been fun, coming together with those folks that have been introduced to kava at Fungi Fest, where the theme is mushrooms, and they come and they're like, oh well, there's kava. Tell us more about that, because we want to know everything about natural everything, right? So that's been fun. Just some of our local um uh elevate and level mushrooms, wellness products. um let's see, I've done a lot of pop-ups. I did a wild woman event where, again, just going to different events and meeting the people where they're at. So that's been very fun. Not only networking, but introducing people to Kava who are, if they're going to a mental wellness event, and there's Kava. And so the intention is like, hey, this is something that can help with your mental wellness and your relaxation mentally. If you're going somewhere where it's like, oh, a wellness event where people are wanting to know physically, as a physical wellness event, like, oh, here's Kava. This is what physical benefits it can do for your body, et cetera, your muscle relaxation, etc. So, not only having people come in the shop and doing things there again for fun, but going out to the community and meeting people where they're at. Um, so yeah, I'm looking forward to a lot more events this summer coming up if it ever gets here. Just warm weather. Looking forward to having a couple of outdoor events that are in the talks with some of our local again friends, so that we can just educate and get the word out there and let people know that the place that they drive by every day. I still have people. I've been open almost 2 years. People are literally, I just had somebody come in last week and say, I drive by this place all the time since you've been open and never come in. And I'm curious, like, what is this? And so I love having those opportunities to say, hey, yeah, let me tell you what it is. And here, try it. Yeah, looking forward to many more fun events to bring folks in.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. And That's actually how, I mean, realistically speaking, I got started with Kava. So I was driving down the road one day and I got stuck at a red light after I dropped my
Mm-hmm.
daughter off. I was trying to get out of town. And I looked to my right, and on the back of a door it said Kava bar. And I was like, what the hell is
Mm-hmm.
Kava? I have no idea, right? And I was like,
Right.
I was like, did they mean Java bar? Did someone spell this word wrong? What's going? Is
Oh
this a
yeah.
Kava bar, right? So
We
I
get that
I
all the
get that
time
all
too.
the time. I get that all the time. Well, I was like, yeah, I drink Kava, and they're like, Java? You went and had coffee at like 10 o'clock at night? Are you gonna be able to sleep? I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Java,
Yeah.
Kava, different letters, all right,
Yeah.
guys? But, that was maybe about, I don't know, 2 or 3 months after Greg had opened the Nashua store and,
Mm-hmm.
um, fell in love from there, obviously, because we're here today. So, uh,
Yeah.
one thing I wanted to touch upon, and it had a very profound impact on my personal life, and I finally get to say this on record, even though I've said it several times since that. Thank you very much, right? Because you actually taught me something very ingenious, and I've actually been keeping that in the back of my head. So when I had come to your store last year before I went to WrestleMania, I
Mm-hmm.
was telling you how I was very much trying to get my brother to try kava, but he didn't want to give up his beer. And he
Mm-hmm.
was like, I don't want to give up beer, but I want to try kava, but I don't want to give up beer. And you were wise enough to bestow upon me some information about your boyfriend at the time, I believe it was, who
Yeah.
also was in the same boat. And
Yes.
essentially, you had convinced him to drink non alcoholic beers on the
Mm-hmm.
days where he would try kava. And first of all, I thought that was absolutely genius, so thank you for that one. Second of all, it made sense when I went to Vegas because they actually had a whole non-alcoholic um, beer and seltzers and all that kind of stuff in their refrigerator. So I was like, oh, this is
Yeah.
great. And number three, since then, I was actually able to bring my brother, I would say, to the former Worcester Kava Bar for a couple of Worcester Red Sox games, Woo Sox games, and he was
Mm-hmm.
able to partake in said beverages without having any ill effects, right? So
Right.
yeah, I've been literally quoting you for like 12 months. You had zero clue.
I had
Um,
no idea. I felt
exactly.
my ears buzzing. I'm like, who's that?
So once again, thank you for that. I wanted to share that story because it was very genius, and I wanted to make sure to point that out today because the reason why I've said it so often is
Mm-hmm.
because I have had more people in the past year have the same exact experience where they're like, "Well, I want to drink kava, but I love my beer, or I love my this, I love my that." There's non-alcoholic spirits now. You can get ritual spirits at most of the New Hampshire liquor stores, or
Mm-hmm.
you get them on Amazon and whatever else. So you could still
Oh
have
yeah.
your rum and coke and still have your your kava too, right? So you can
Right.
have your cake and eat it too. So um,
Right.
yeah, I really just wanted to bring that up and say thank you so much for that tidbit because I've been able to recycle that information and tell everyone. If if I forgot to tell someone before that I got that information from you, I
Uh,
just recorded
there you
it
go.
live and now they can know forever, right? That was
Yeah.
that was never my idea. Miriam, you're a genius. Thank you so much. I was
I
able
wouldn't
to
say a
convince
genius, but the
I
ideas
was
just
able to
flow
convince people.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I like to think critically, again, I said I'm a nurse, and that I think that part of me is just like, so there's a problem. It's like, okay, what are we gonna do? What's the solution? And yeah, a lot of people don't want to give it beer. They don't want to give the sensation of the bubbly, right? Like the carbonation. And so there are kava seltzers that are available. You can make, I have kava creations where I make seltzer with juices and the kava, and we create this where you have the sensation, right? Because with a lot of mocktails and non-alcoholic beverages, you have like the seltzers and the again the flavors that are there because people don't want to let that go. So yeah, it's important for them to know like, hey, even if you get something that's just a seltzer and maybe it doesn't have any you don't get any feeling from it, add some kava, and just kind of work and see, make sure the ingredients kind of match up. And I've tried some creations that I said, oh yeah, this would be great. And then I put it together and I'm like, oh, that wasn't so great, whether it's taste or the way it mixes, or if I want to make it with an extract versus an instant, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I think there's so many ways to enjoy it, and so that's the great part of it. I personally like to enjoy the chocolates. I love chocolate. It's like, oh, I can just eat a piece of chocolate and have my kava. I enjoy having a drink with my customers, right? And so just there's different options, and so that's a great thing to have options.
Right? Options are always preferred. This
Yeah.
is America, baby.
This
This is the
right.
land of options.
Land of
Um,
options.
what are some common myths or misconceptions about kava that you have to address with customers?
Um, um, honestly, I feel like I don't have many people that come in with misconceptions because either they don't know what kava is, and so they have no information about kava, or they are familiar with kava and they love it because they drink tea that they sell at like the grocery store, the yogi teas that have the kava.
Okay.
And that's how a lot of people are familiar with kava. Like, and I have it on my counter. I finally bought a box and I'm like, okay, I'll have it here just in case somebody wants to drink something familiar, but also so they can see and I can point out this is what you see and this is and so again, either they know what it is or they don't know what it is and I'm introducing it to them. I would have to say the only thing is for people who haven't had it but have heard about it is that the taste is horrible. um, they're like, I heard it tastes like dirt, it's terrible, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, okay, well, good thing we give free samples so you can just, know for yourself and hear. And I would have to say that at least like 90 to 95% of the folks who try it for the first time that either have that misconception or not, or misinformation or not, um, their first initial reaction is just like, "Oh, that wasn't too bad. That wasn't that bad. It's earthy, because I always tell people it's earthy. That's how I describe it. I don't say it's bitter. I don't say it tastes bad. And like, why would you want to
Right.
say negative about something that you feel has such a positive connotation to it?" So yeah, so that's usually they come in that would be the one thing. Oh, it tastes bad, or here, and I give a free tasting and let them in just the traditional kava. I'm like, here it is in all of its goodness, and at the same time, you can feel the numbing sensation with the small taste of it, so you feel like everything with it. And so I would say that would be the one thing that I've encountered. And again, like I said, most people are like, oh, it wasn't that bad.
And you know what's funny is I've said this for many years. I actually had this question before COVID because being a vegan, I've been a vegan for almost 14 years, and people always try to ask me like, well, they always ask me all kinds of weird, random, strange questions, right? And one of the biggest things I'll ask them back and is I'll say, I want you to think about all your favorite foods.
Mhm,
And I want you to answer this honestly. If you woke up tomorrow and you couldn't taste or smell that thing, would you continue to eat it?
mhm,
And 9 times out of 10, they say, absolutely not. Why would I? Because I eat this ice cream because it tastes good, right?
right, right.
And I say, that's my own personal philosophy when it comes to food, right? I would rather have something that may or may not taste very good, but is absolutely great for me
Mhm,
than eat something that's tastes amazing and it's going to give me cancer tomorrow. Like it
right.
doesn't. I am a marginally speaking a critical thinker. I believe in common sense and logic and reasoning, and I can't get past the idea of yes, it tastes amazing, but I'm gonna die. right? Like, I would
Right.
rather have the earthy flavor, and quite frankly, you just get used to it, where it's
Yeah.
not that bad. It's really, it's I enjoy the flavor. I mean, I'm a kind of crazy person that eats kale for fun. I don't think it tastes bad. But one of the amazing things about diets and about human beings is when you cut some of that sugary stuff out,
Hmm.
those more earthy, bittery things don't taste horrible anymore. You can actually
Right.
taste real flavor in them. So,
Right.
like me, once I went vegan and gluten free, and I cut out all sweets and all kinds of stuff, for the most part, like 90% of the time, I just like having stuff like kava or spinach or whatever doesn't taste terrible. I'm like, oh, now if I try to have something sugary, I'm just like, oh, that tastes terrible. That cake where I used to think it would taste amazing, now it just tastes like pure sugar and I get a headache. So
Right.
it's such a it's such a the human palate is such a very fragile thing. I would say. Um, so you've been highlighted in WGME's Brew of the Week. Have you
Hmm.
gotten any great, feedback from doing any of those kind of like press releases or
Um,
anything like
yeah, I mean, I've had folks who've come in and said, "Hey, I saw you and I read about an article about you or I saw something on TV. I just can't remember because it's probably something that what Kava, so and then they'll come. They're like, "We heard about you, what let's." So that's been nice to have that. That was a fun segment that we did, the Brew of the Week, where the local news is highlighting coffee shops, right? Because we have like 50, right? One on every block, coffee shops, and because coffee's great, right? And you can have, again, lots of different options. Um, but so it was the brew of the week, and they reached out to me and they said, well, we've been hitting up all the coffee places and we have coffee and sandwiches and coffees and sandwiches, and that's what we're highlighting every week. We came across your shop and you have coffee, but what's kava?
that?
And you're open and you sell coffee, so that's so it was exciting to be able to bring that to the community. I've done a couple other, podcasts and articles and local papers, and so that's fun because it's again that whole local. We're here too. We're just your local business, bringing you something new and exciting, and yeah.
Yeah, it's always good to enjoy what you do, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I said this on a previous podcast. A lot of some of these I actually host with my daughter JJ,
Mm-hmm.
and we had a running bet where I was kind of bashing Pepsi. I'm not a big fan of Pepsi,
Mm-hmm.
and we had someone comment the idea of like, wouldn't you not want to bash them? What if they wanted to become a sponsor? And I'm like, listen, first of all, the idea of them sponsoring my podcast seems utterly insane. But the
Right.
idea of, right, like they'd ever notice I exist anyways. But I brought up the fact that for the most part, most adults have a job where they've pretty much become a sellout, to be honest. You normally
Mm-hmm.
just do whatever job you need to survive. Like that's
Right.
and sellout is such a harsh term, but it's literally just adulting, right? That's literally just being an adult. Is that some is most people end up with a job they do not like, so
Right.
they can pay bills they do not want to pay, and
Mm-hmm.
that's not a oh my god. We make this big thing about it, but that's life. Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? And I challenged that person. I said, wouldn't if you were Pepsi, wouldn't you want to give me sponsorship so I can stop talking trash about you? That would make more sense to me. And they're
Right.
like, oh, that'd make you a crazy sellout. And I'm like, would that make me a crazy sellout, or would that just make me a smart businessman that wants to pay rent? Like,
Right.
I don't know. You tell me. I guess it's all in the eye of the beholder here. But for
Right.
me, it's just like, listen, that if you don't think that if you stop and look at your life and you're doing a job that you absolutely hate, how are you any different from a sellout? I just
Mm-hmm.
so having a job on whether you do it part time or whatever that actually gives you some kind of fulfillment, in my opinion, that's a lot better for you intrinsically on a grandiose scale, right? It just longer scale for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Switching it up here,
Mhm.
Lava Kava. Where did you get that name? Is it just punchy? Was it just
Um, yeah, to be honest, no deep meaning to it originally. Um, Again, when I decided it was quick, 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 like, okay, I moved here. I gotta start a business now because there are no kava bars. Let me do, wait, I need a name. So I called my kids, did a three-way FaceTime. I'm like, guys, I'm opening up a kava bar. I need a name. And I asked my kids, I'm like, what do I name this place? I need to, I need to get the LLC going. I was so excited. And the two older ones were like, we don't know. Like, okay, next, we don't know. And the youngest one, she's like, well, let me think. She actually thought, I'm like, okay, whatever you say, that's what's going. And she's like, what about lava kava? And it was funny because that was the first thing she said. And I said, why lava cava? She said, because it rhymes. And I'm just like, all right. I'll try not to tell too many people that story because, people want deep meaning into certain things and names. I was like, but that's what we're going with. Lavakava. It's easy to remember. It is kind of punchy and it works. Yeah, lava cava. And so then
your child's also brilliant. I know where she
yeah,
gets it from.
yeah, it's lava cover. Let's do it. And so we did it. And
Lava
so
Kava.
again, I've had that question asked many times. And then in retrospect, I'm like, oh shoot, I need to come up with a better story. But I'm like, nope, it rhymes. So
Right?
yeah, it just worked. And
You could make a whole story about like, oh well, Kava comes from the Pacific Islands and there's volcanoes around and
volcanoes,
the
and I've
the the,
had that asked before.
the
Yep.
ash makes the kava grow better. But then you just gotta keep up the lie forever, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Um, like, oh, okay, you gotta inscribe it and put it on the wall. So like lava
Yeah.
kava, we are here because of the volcanic ash that is sprinkled onto the
Yeah.
kava on a regular. It's like,
Yep. Right.
yeah,
Right.
maybe if we were trying to be a super corporate shill, I guess that would be a much more preferred thing. But the idea of
Right.
I needed a name and it rhymed, it's
Yep.
that's a valid thing, guys. Like that is a
Yeah.
valid like it's just rolls off the tongue. It's quick. You don't have to play guess who,
Yeah.
right? You just
Right.
like
Right.
I mean, it just works. And the fact that you're able to get into a space, like for me, I'm making a podcast. There's 70 billion podcasts on Earth. So when I
Right.
wanted to make a name for a podcast, I wanted it to be
No.
simple to make it easier.
Right.
But all the really cool simple names have been taken for 20 years. So
Right.
I had to come up with a whole discombobulation, not because I thought it sounded the best, but because it was the only thing available, right?
Right. Exactly.
So at least you're in the fresh virgin market where you're like, yeah, I
Yeah.
get to have the punchy name.
Yeah.
Because
Well, yeah, it
if
was
it,
fun because I was like, nobody, and even with all the kava bars around, nobody's lava kava. And I was like, wow,
yeah.
nobody thought about rhyming here. So,
Hey,
yeah.
sometimes it's just better in your, was it iambic pentameter. It just works. It works better
Yep.
in your brain, guys. So you just
Yep.
let your brain not have to always do the heavy lifting.
Right.
So what's been the most rewarding part of running Lava Kava on a day to day? Is it like interacting with your regular, seeing people, like
Yes.
move over to your space? What's for you personally? What's been the best?
Um, Definitely, kind of going back to that community, the regulars that have become friends, just the people that come in and share their stories and it's sometimes, I have people sitting at the bar, which I just have two seats at the bar, pretty small when you come to think of it, but it really creates a closeness with your customers, and just being able to talk one-on-one, or again, if there's few people, we're having a conversation, and people come to talk. They just come to just hang out, you know. I have a lot of people come and take their kava to go. They're like, okay, I need to get good sleep, or I gotta go study and I need this, they're in medical school and they have all these things going on. And again, going back to intentions, what are you, why are you drinking it? So people drink it because they need to just go and study and chill. Um, but people who come in and sit and talk over a, a kava, that's rewarding because it's just like you picked lava kava to spend your night and people will stay for an hour or two or three. And again, it's not because we have this big program or this big event. It's just those small gatherings that we have. um Even if it's like, hey guys, tonight we're gonna, I don't know. We're gonna, like I said, we're gonna do music. Bring your instruments, and just a couple of people getting together and knowing that you have a place to go. A- and I have a lot of just a different variety of people. Again, like I said, younger, older, our age, and it's just great to see the 22-year-old kid that stopped drinking, at 22. I'm like, oh, okay, that's awesome. To the 60-year-old person who is, hasn't drank for 30 years and they're so glad they encountered kava, you know what I mean? And having a 22-year-old and a 60-year-old and me in the middle, and just having this thing in common where we can just get together and talk, and just converse. And I think that's rewarding. I'm a people person. And just seeing people smile and let out their feelings. I've had a lot of, as a kava tender, if you go to a bar, you talk to your bartender, and you, for the most part, from what I've known and from what I've seen, right, you just let them know all your troubles and all your worries. And a lot of times your bartenders in a big busy bar, they don't have that conversation with you, right? But that's what I like about Lava Kava. It's a space where we can have a conversation, whether it's something sad or you're going through, or if it's something happy, to be joyful with you. And so I think just the community coming together and being able to bring Lava Kava to different events, that's rewarding to see, people's faces light up like, oh my gosh, you came to our event, or we're so glad to see you here. I think is what's most rewarding. Just kind of community and friends.
Right? How can you get much better than building, you've literally built a community around you. Right?
Right.
It's a
Right.
beautiful thing. Uh, there's nothing, I mean, there's nothing better than that. Quite frankly, having a great community of people, they always tell you that if you want to be successful, you got to look at the first six people you hang out with all the time. And if you
Right.
have you've built this own little community up, and you're able to have these people come in, and they have marginal talents from different spectrums of the universe. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty good bunch of people to have around you, I would say.
Oh yeah. Well,
Um,
we get excited. If we have somebody that comes in and, says, "Oh, can you tell me about Kava?" They've never it's not rare for one of my regulars to be like, "Can I tell them all about it?" I'm like, "Go for it," because they get excited, to see somebody new come in. It's like, "Oh, there's somebody new here." They get excited. They get excited for me on a personal level that my business is growing. We're having new people, but they get excited that somebody's enjoying and learning about something that they may have discovered recently, or that they know that can possibly help this person, whether it's, joining us there or taking it home, or just, again, just knowing what kava is. So that's really rewarding.
yeah, I mean, that touches on it for me as well, because I don't even really have, technically, I don't get paid to work for the Reawakening Common Bar. I'm a volunteer. All the
Mm-hmm.
work that I do for them is on a volunteer basis. And myself, the reason why I do that, and most people are like,
Mm-hmm.
why do you spend so much time helping people for free? Oh my God, I've
Mm-hmm.
never heard of that concept. It's
Right.
literally just because I want to see this be successful.
Mm-hmm.
It's been so rewarding and impactful for me in my life,
Mm-hmm.
that I want to open that door for other people who are willing to go through that door, right? You
Right.
the proverbial you can bring the horse to the water, but you can't make it drink. Some people will show up and it's not their cup of tea and they're going to go away, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But to bring in a couple of people who were lost and now they're like, oh, I have found this community and I prefer this
Mm-hmm.
community over the ones I found that I've had before, right? That's completely rewarding, and
Right.
it's human. Honestly,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
human. The idea
And
of
yeah. And we, I have a few customers that don't drink kava and they're regulars because they're like, oh, can you make me a hot tea or a coffee? I just want to be here with you guys. So going back to it's not the actual kava, it's what the kava does you know it's just that vibe. This is what kava does, this is what it brings about. And so to have people come in not because they're looking for kava but just because they're looking for the Kava community, if I guess that would sum it up of what the reward is. You're looking for the Kava community and to be able to have built that and still building it because it takes time to get all 70,000 people from Portland in there. um, one at a time, though, we're doing it.
let's go Portland, let's
It's
go.
good. Let's go, Portland. Come on. Right on Washington Ave. You pass me every day. Just come on in.
Come on
Yep.
down. Um, yeah, no, it's the funny thing was my daughter, right? She's like my
hmm
sidekick and everything,
hmm
and I was I I've been like I said I've been going to Root Awakening since they opened in I want to say it was July of 2022,
hmm
maybe June. I've
Yeah, it
been
was
going
that
since
summer.
August. Yeah, it was that summer for sure. I've been going
hmm
since August of 2022, so maybe like 4 to 6 to 8 weeks right after they opened. And for so long, I couldn't get my daughter. Like I wanted to be there more often, but my daughter didn't want to go. And then I actually had purchased. I got a bunch of art supplies, arts and craft supplies, and um, brought it there. And basically, I was like, "Listen, we're just gonna go color. Don't you want to just go color?" And literally after being there one time and her being able to talk to the bartender, she was just like the
Right.
kava tender. She was just like, "Oh, I want to be here every weekend. Like, why aren't we?
Right.
Why aren't
Right.
we? Why aren't we here every day?" And I'm just like, "Oh my God, what
Right.
shout out once again
Exactly.
to Olivia. Thank you, Olivia, for being so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because now my daughter is like wakes up on a Saturday morning and she's like, "Do we have anything to do? And can we go to the kava bar?" And she's not old enough to drink kava. Maybe she'll have a soda, but she just likes being in the room with the people and she likes being able to talk to the kava tenders. She's doing a thing now where she's taking a picture with each one of them, and she's like gonna put it on on her Instagram, where she's like, "Oh, I met
Right.
this kava tender. This is my buddy." You know what I mean? Like
Right.
she has this sense of pride in herself to be like, "Oh, this is a friend I have now." And if a 13-year-old kid can do it, why wouldn't it work for a 20, 30-year-old or a
Right.
63-year-old? That makes
Exactly.
total sense. So, um, I mean, I've done this for 4 years now almost, so I can't pretend. I was a very frequent in person back in my 20s, especially going to bars, trying to, go from single to not single, or um, talking to the cute bartender or whatever. So
hmm
it almost feels like being back at home, but without all the alcoholic nonsense, I'll say.
Right. Right. Right.
um, so we're almost time to wrap up here. So I had
hmm
two more questions. What is your personal favorite way to enjoy kava? Do you want it straight? Do you want your mocktails? Is it the chocolate? Like what is it that you prefer? What makes it stand out for you?
Um, I personally like a good creation. Um, and I think it's because I'm constantly trying to create something. So I do. I'm one of the ones like, oh, I like a little flavor in it. My people are always again like going back to what do you recommend? And I'm like the straight up stuff, and it's just like try it, like it, if you have another. If not, let's go to the Kava Creations. But I'm all about let's try the traditional. Is it my favorite? No. But is it most people's favorite and what I sell the most are kava bowls, the just a traditional kava, because that's, again, people just want the full punch. They just want that, um, the fullness of it, the whole authentic experience, which they like. But yeah, I would have to say just a good mixed kava creation, just depending on what I'm in the mood for, whether if it's you know, a latte, kava, like a horchata and apple spice or something like that, or something with a juice or something sweet. But yeah,
Yeah, and I certainly concur with that. That's something I tell, like let's say I have several brothers, so I'm going to keep saying my brother. But I did when I went back to Phoenix for that trip last year.
hmm
There are two kava bars in the Phoenix metro area. One was actually in like central Phoenix, and I was able to bring my brother with me to that kava bar for the first time, and he basically asked me, he asked me the same thing, like, what should I have? And I was like, listen, you got to start, as far as I'm concerned, you got to start with a shell. You
yep,
don't, you got to try this. You got to try this thing straight up to know exactly what it's like, how your body's going to react, what you actually think about it before you
right,
get to run off and all the floofy things. Because yes, all the
right.
all the cocktails are delicious, and I get it.
Oh yeah,
But for first timers, that's certainly what I recommend. I'm like, listen,
yes,
just try a shell, and then we'll go from there, right?
right.
Just try the shell. So he loved it. The funny thing is they had a board, they had a couple of different kavas written on the board, and they had I can't remember which one, but basically they had listed out like the effects. So it's like
hmm
body, mind, and then one said something about along the lines of like this will help you be more sociable. And we look at each other and I'm like, yeah, I should never drink that kava. What whatever kava makes you talk more is the kava I should never drink
No.
because getting me to shut up is the problem, right?
Right.
He's like, you are forbidden from drinking this kava, and I was like, I couldn't agree with you more. If I drink the kava that makes me talk more,
Right.
you might as well just get a soapbox and just stand back. I'll be here all day. So
Right.
I definitely couldn't agree with you more on that one. So, uh, last question for
hmm
anyone paying attention, whether they're in the Portland area or whatever. And this is March, so hopefully spring is around the corner. We just got snow
It
yesterday, so
is.
I don't
The
want to, I don't
snow
want
is
to.
it snowed a bunch, but I just see the snow just plopping down. It's melting. It's melting.
Right, right. Apparently, it's like 45
Giving me
degrees
hope.
right now, which is nice.
Giving
So,
me hope.
but for 2026, can you
Yes.
let the listeners know, like, um, well, first of all, what is your address? I want to give that out for sure.
Yeah, it is 550 Washington Avenue in Portland, Maine.
Okay, and you guys have if you guys have like a small parking lot, right?
We have a small parking lot, which is a parking lot period, which everybody is so excited about because
Yeah.
anywhere in front you can't park. There's no parking, Like I know I've literally gone places like I want to go there. There's no parking. Oh, can't go. But yeah, we do have a small parking lot. We we have maybe 6 or 7 spaces. There's some street parking that's not very full. So we're in a residential area. So not a ton of businesses that people are frequenting, so it's not a busy area. So there's always plenty of parking. Yes.
Right. No, that's just like honestly that being from New England, that's the number one question when anybody's
Mm-hmm.
going to go somewhere. Do
Yep.
they have
Oh yeah.
parking?
Yeah, that
Because
that's one of the
it's
questions that I get a lot in phone calls. Like, do you guys have parking there? I'm like, oh yes, yes, we do.
right, right. So that's why
Mm-hmm.
I want to try to save your headaches, all right? Save
Yes.
future. Well, I saw you on this podcast, but do you have a parking spot? Okay,
Yes,
yes. Just
yes. We
say
have
yes, guys. You
parking.
did
There's
say
street
it.
parking. There's a parking lot. Yes.
And to be fair, for the record, obviously I've been there. I already knew that, but
hmm
just I'm playing dumb for the audience, guys. That's how this works. So yes, you gave me your address. There is parking. There are streets. So if you have to park on the street somewhere, park in a designated zone that doesn't say we'll tow you away because that's on the city and not on us. We just live here,
Right,
all right? It's
right, right.
America.
There are some good parking spots. If you want me to go out there and we'll figure it out together, I'm all for that too.
Right.
So
And
it should be a relaxing
you're not
experience. That would be the worst thing if you go out after all that and your car is towed.
right.
So, but no.
And you're not too far from like downtown and stuff, right?
Right, yeah. I'm less than 5 minutes from like the old port. Literally, we're right off of 295. So it's exit 9 going south and exit 8 coming north. So literally right off of the exit. So it's really great, to be able to just pop in, pop out, go on your way if you're heading, you're going for a drive. Not far from downtown, where you can we have a lot of in the Washington Avenue. We call it on the other side because I'm on the residential side. So on the other side of Washington Ave, you have more businesses, so restaurants and stuff. So people love going to, come having a kava. Then they're like, oh, we're gonna go have dinner, and so everything's kind of close, whether they're going to the Old Port downtown or if they're going to the up and coming Washington Ave restaurants.
And that's
Hmm.
actually one thing I tell a lot of people. I'm like, listen, before you have kava, go have dinner and then just go to the kava bar.
Yeah.
Because every time I go to the kava bar, I'm like, especially if I'm hungry, I just have to get food delivered at the Rudaway. Because I'm just like, oh man, I'm starving. I'm starving,
It
but I'm not.
happens.
I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to go anywhere. So
Yeah, it happens at Lava Cava too. And I tell people are always like, "Can we order food?" Some people are most people are not shy to ask, and so I'm saying it. Yeah, order food, get it door dashed. Uh, we've got a spot for you to sit down and eat and have your kava and listen to music and relax, and not have to go out anywhere. Yeah,
yeah,
after you're already
certain
there.
nights, certain nights for trivia, we have like a catering guy who comes in and sells his
Mm-hmm.
food. So it's never a bad plan. Wednesday
Yeah,
nights over there. Any, so you're on you said your winter hours, which is 5 to 10 right now.
5 to 10 right now. Yes.
Right. And then so when it comes to hopefully when Mother Nature's more forgiving, right? Um, be able to open that up a little bit. Is there
Yep.
anything upcoming this summer that people should be aware of or
We're working on a few things. Just having, like I said earlier, just some of the events outside. Definitely do Sunday, Tiki Party Sundays. I think that didn't rhyme, Tiki Party Sundays, but it's still fun. So that doesn't roll off the tongue. But just having or Sundays, I've said. And just having events like that, trivia. And again, just the warmer weather, the 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 need to come out, and we have a lot of folks that just come and get their to go cup and they're like, we've got to go hit the beach, give us our cover and we're going. And so they'll stock up and go to the go to the beach, go for a walk, go to the park, etc., etc. So but yeah, we are working on some events. I always tell people to like just keep an eye out for our Instagram, Lava Cava Maine. That's where I post most of my things. Instagram is easy for me and say, hey guys, we're closed early. We're open late. We're closed today. It's my son's birth, and just keeping people updated. I always tell people, just go on my Instagram. I'm going to tell you everything that's happening. We're going to have an event. I will definitely put it up there. And yeah, so we're just, like I said, we're working on some events and I will be posting it on Instagram as I get details on what we're doing. But
perfect. You
yeah,
guys you heard it here first. Get ready for some Sunday fun days, all right?
Sunday
Let's do
fun day.
this.
There you go. Sunday fun days. That rhymes. We could do it.
So awesome. Once again, Lava Cava, Portland, Maine. Miriam, thank you so much for coming on today. I genuinely appreciate you taking your time for this. And I really can't wait to go back and see you. Probably once we get some better weather for sure. I know.
Yeah, easy streets
There's
to drive on.
yeah, it's much easier to park when there's not 17 feet piles of snow and all that stuff. And
Right.
myself, I normally go to Maine for like let's say hockey games, um, basketball games, Sea Dogs games. You know, there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of really good sports teams in Portland
Yep.
itself.
Oh yeah.
And then the
We got
occasional
soccer now.
soccer. Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
we
You
got
got
soccer.
the occasional comedian or
Mm-hmm.
band or whatever. And then there's so much really good food in Portland too. So it's
Yeah.
kind of hard, like those heavenly donuts or whatever. There's really can't
Oh,
go wrong with one of those. You
yep.
know what
The
I mean?
Holy
There's
Donut.
Holy Donut. Yeah, that's the one. The Holy Donut. Someone, those
Yes.
things are as big as your head. You know what I mean? They're just
Yep. Yeah, they are.
uh, super delicious, and they do have
Yep.
vegan donuts, which is amazing.
They do. They
But
do.
yeah, thank you so much for being here today. For my audience, I have 3 more podcasts this week that I have to record. The very next bonus episode which is what I'm calling these things. It is supposed to be filmed with an influencer, Maggie Eats Vegan. So we will be finally talking about vegan food and what vegan things to be doing in the universe. So thank you so much for listening today. Miriam, thank you so much for being here. And for everybody else, peace. You have a good day.